Greetings, YouTubers. I just wanted to come on and make another quick video to 2020 hindsight. She started this group on kind of like a walkaway group for people coming out of fundamentalist churches and fundamentalist ideas. And I myself came from that kind of background, and I don't want to relay and keep harping on my sappy story, even though it may be important at times to talk about it. But I have over and over because I've been out for quite a while now. And I really appreciate 2020 hindsight's story. It's like many others that I have heard, and I'm glad that she is able to transcend in some ways what she went through, even though something like that usually sticks with you for a long time, longer than you wish it to. And spiritual and mental abuse from groups is quite horrible indeed, and it makes people most unhappy with themselves and the world. What I want to say is, after you go through the initial stage of leaving, you feel extremely angry. And the best way of dealing with that, I felt myself, is to be able to beat them at their own game. I started studying, reading, and learning, and it ended up becoming a hobby. And the way I see it now, to put it all back together, I am a Christian because I happen to follow the teachings of Christ, and all the other stuff that I need to prove or disprove or do or not do or have laws or not have laws is pretty much irrelevant. Because beliefs at times are like stones. You sign up with something, they hand you a stone to carry around with, or a belief, and you put it in your pocket, and pretty soon you add more and more and more and become weighted down, and it ends up being more of a burden and a yoke rather than being free. And Jesus is about being free, although sometimes church dogma and rules do not allow very much for that. What I wanted to say is I ended up studying, been away for a while, and then coming back. And what I'm currently doing is understanding how they think and why they thought. So what I found out is most of these rules, my church also, and my sister left for another denomination. She's doing mission work, and she feels comfortable in that now, more comfortable, because the group she's with now, the denomination she's with now, aren't as hardcore as the one she used to be with. And she still, feels she needs to wear dresses, and she does not cut her hair. However, she's happy in that, and she has my little nephew, and they come home in the summers, and we have some really good discussions. And she's a school teacher. However, there are some people who, believe it or not, are happy in that sort of thing. I know many would not be able to fathom that, but obviously these groups are pretty large at times, and so you would need to know the start of that group, where those ideas spring from. And like I said before, it's mainly a retaliation to society and views that they seem or they perceive as harmful or to them. I know that we couldn't have television, and it was told attached to some Bible verse. However, I later found out it's retaliation to Hollywood and movie making and some of the stuff that they felt they could not promote and still be Christian. And so a lot of your dress comes from retaliation to secular society, and they try to make these rules to separate people out so they can say that they are different. And they use biblical texts that were not supposed to be used in those ways to justify their rules, instead of just saying We do this because we're in retaliation to something. So that's how I kind of see it now. And you place these groups in their groups. What I mean is, if you see strict evangelical views, you say, I understand that you have strict evangelical views, and I'm not trying to change your mind, but this is the way I think. And people once rooted in these traditions will probably stay rooted, and no amount of any convincing would ever allow them to leave. However, there are people who wish to leave and feel overly guilty about it, and because they've been preached that it was the only way, that church, and somehow in heaven you would have to tiptoe past where they were lest they realized they weren't the only ones there. There's quite a few churches like that and quite a few denominations, and there's also many cults. I mentioned it before at www.rickross.com. You can keep up on what all these groups are doing. They have group therapy there, great books on leaving fundamentalism, and another text I read, Growing Up Fundamentalist. Another text was Stealing Jesus, which was a good book, and the Fundamentalism Project. It's a series of big, thick books done by Chicago University, I believe. It's a whole study on world fundamentalism, and they come to some interesting conclusions, and these different sections of ideas are studied at great depths. So you can read on, Mormon fundamentalism, the FLDS, and how fundamentalism started in the evangelical movement, and a whole wide range of different topics. So that's just some recommendations. And it's good to see people are healing. If you decide to still be theist, believing in deity or Christ, coming back and being able to put it back together in some way. Because the hardest thing is, if you live with hate and anger, it'll end up destroying you from the inside because it creates that much more stress. And sometimes you start becoming what you hate just in the act of retaliating. So right now I'm still putting back together a lot of things on how I can see it. It's a big puzzle that when you leave, you take it and you scramble it all up and you put it back together. But with this puzzle, you might be allowed to file off some of the edges and make it into a beautiful mosaic rather than the picture that you feel is on the box. So, great video. If people have any questions about anything, it'd be interesting if you could PM me on what that group was. I'd be most interested in hearing about that. And good luck to all those who are thinking, and keep thinking, because the truth is out there, and if you go through the struggle, you will appreciate it that much more. So take care, YouTubers. Take care of yourself and each other.